Hello, my name is Jill Hawthorne, and I'm part of the Alumni and Family Engagement Team and Class of '87. Welcome to Pitzer at Home, where we offer virtual workshops, lectures, tutorials, and more featuring our Pitzer community. We are honored to have the expertise of Valerie Miller, parent class of '23, and Dina Bsharat for our third and final career development workshop, Selling Yourself Online and in Person. The workshop will be recorded and available on demand at Pitzer at Home for the remainder of the year. So welcome back to our career coaching team. Valerie and Dina, take it away.
Thank you so much, Jill, and welcome everyone. We're so happy to be here. So first we wanted to tell you a little bit about us. We are both certified professional coactive coaches, and we're accredited by the International Coaching Federation, and we also teach teams and relationships. And we both worked in marketing for a long time, but we decided to change gears about 5 years ago. And since then, we've been running career development workshops in person and most recently online. We help people develop leadership behaviors, emotional intelligence, and find careers they love. And we feel so, so grateful to be here and to have this opportunity to help the Pitzer community. So that's a little bit about who we are, and where are you now? First of all, where are you in the world? Let us know in the chat box. And where are you on your journey? Are you trying to find a new career? Are you trying to find a job? Have you just graduated from college and you're looking for a job for the first time? Let us know if you can in the chat box. And also throughout the evening or throughout the next hour when we're presenting, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat box because we always get to have time to answer questions at the end of our presentation. So let us know. Okay. So you may have noticed that there are some worksheets, and these are just to help you really lock in the learning. If you haven't printed them out, you can print them out after the call. And if you don't have them with you, just grab a pen and a paper because you might want to take some notes. So our last 2 sessions have been about developing behaviors that will help you develop your career. This workshop is more about how to sell yourself, not only online and your resume, but in person. We'll be outlining how to create a narrative about yourself that you can use to populate things like your bio, your resume, your LinkedIn profile, and cover letters. And we'll be speaking about the hidden functionalities of LinkedIn and how you can use it to your advantage. And lastly, we'll give you all the answers to your burning questions about confidence and how we can intentionally build confidence in order to take action steps towards our goal.
All right, so yeah, thanks, Val. Hi, everyone. Okay, so we have 4 pieces, as Val just mentioned, and the first piece is crafting and developing your bio. Developing your bio is an opportunity for you to really tell your story. It's a tool that can be used to market yourself in an authentic way and a way for you to highlight your strengths, cover significant points about who you are and what you bring to the table. And it helps clarify, again, what's your story? What's your narrative? What's your message? So that you can confidently share all of these things with your network, potential employers, and other people. It's important to spend time thinking about crafting your bio because once you have it done, you can actually then use it in so many different areas. Some examples of where you could use it are on your website, if you have one or are planning on launching one. You could also use it on your LinkedIn profile as your LinkedIn profile statement. And you could also use it as a personal brand statement for your resume. So it has many uses. Okay, so what actually goes into a bio? So if you have the worksheet in front of you, great. You'll notice that there's these sections included. If you don't have it in front of you, these are all the sections that are included. And I'll just go through them very quickly. So the first one is, what do you currently do, or what you've done? Here you want to list out all your accomplishments, and not so much the tasks or the day-to-day, but what you've achieved. What was the impact of you doing what you've done, or what's the impact of you doing what you're currently doing? Secondly, what external validation do you have? Do you have any awards, even certifications that you might have gotten, even recommendations or referrals from ex-colleagues or ex-bosses? You can also list them out. Thirdly, what's something unique about you? You know, we're all human, but we're all also unique. So maybe it's your sense of humor, or maybe you speak 5 languages. Include whatever you feel will amplify your message. Fourthly, what's important to you? And in other words, when we ask what's important to you, we're talking about listing what are your values. And we covered this in week 1. So if you haven't seen that video, we really encourage you to go back and watch it, because we take you through an exercise to discover your values, help you put them into words and what they mean to you. And here you want to think about, how do these values help inform your career? Next is, what are the things that you do better than anyone else? And here, you know, we're talking about, maybe it's a technical skill, like you're really good at development, or you have an eye for design. But it could also be your project management skills, or perhaps you're really creative. You're always coming up with creative ideas. And that has had a really big impact. Or maybe even your people skills. Maybe you're able to influence and lead people towards a similar goal, and you have examples of how you've done that before. And lastly, what's a pivotal moment in your life, and what are the key learnings from that experience? So once you've answered all 6 areas, you can combine all of these details to form one story, which is your story. And on that last point, you know, what's a pivotal moment in your life? Sometimes the messiest moments in our lives become our most significant message. We're talking about here sharing your vulnerability, which we actually think is a strength, and get readers to connect with you on a human level. It's a chance to take ownership of your narrative and what you want to say. So is there a pivotal moment in your life that was really meaningful for you and you'd like to share? Maybe there was an aha moment for you, or a key learning from your experience that allowed you to pivot to your calling. I can share from my own experience that I wouldn't have discovered coaching or even considered it as a career if I hadn't been laid off from my job. I'd been working in advertising for over a decade, and in the span of a few weeks, the company I was working for restructured, new management was brought in, and I found myself with a few new bosses. And then a couple of weeks later, I also found myself with no job. My position was made redundant, and I was asked to leave. And at the time, this was, I can honestly say, you know, probably the worst thing that could have happened to me at that time. But to make a long story short, that was 5 years ago. And now that I'm on the other side, I can say that it was definitely a pivotal moment that shifted my entire career. And now I'm doing something completely different. So the point is, take a look at where you've been, what might have been a turning point for you. And don't be afraid to put that in your message, even if it's messy. So here's an example of using your bio and your story for your LinkedIn profile. Here, this is a professional bio, and sometimes it can be written in this way, which if you read through it, you can tell is a little more formal. And this one is very much centered around the previous one. Yeah, this one is very much centered around her external validation. You know, she's talking about her awards, being the #1 person in her industry, and also her unique skills. And the next one, you can see that this one's a lot more conversational, and you can make it conversational, and it can be used not just for your LinkedIn profile, again, but also for your website or wherever else you'd like to put in your bio. So here you can, if you read through it, you can see she interjects a lot of her humor, and you can instantly get a feel for her personality, but she also lists her accomplishments and what she's interested in. So she mixes the two. So that's for the bio. And for the next section, we're going to cover your resume. And we're sure that everybody on this call not only has a resume, but that you already know a lot of the points that we're going to cover. But it's important for us to cover them anyway and make sure that you're hitting all of these points. So we're going to cover the headline and branding statements, bottom lining, and using keywords. So the first point we want to say is don't use a job objective if you are. So in today's market, the reader assumes that the job the job that you're applying for, is your objective. So replace the job objective with your headline, the title of the job that you want, and then your branding statement, which highlights your key strengths. Remember that your resume is a marketing tool for you to present yourself to fill the needs of the hiring manager. So focus always on what the company needs and how you can be a solution to meet those needs. So a resume headline is so that hiring managers can scan your resume, and usually they just look at the top third of the page. And so headlines can really shine a spotlight on your talents and get you noticed. And if you're in doubt on what to include in your resume headline, again, just consider using the title of the position that you're targeting and customize it to fit each position. So every time you're applying for a new job, make sure that the resume headline fits in with that job. So you might have to change it for literally every job that you're applying for. Next is the branding statement. And this is a short, catchy statement that highlights your most relevant expertise. And it's usually around 15 words or less. It's your unique value proposition and covers your key strengths. So a strong branding statement, can convey exceptional qualities, skills, experience, or your areas of knowledge, and it can really distinguish you from the average candidate who perhaps has a generic one, or maybe they don't have a branding statement at all. And again, branding statements should be tailored towards a particular job. So here we have examples of resume headlines with their branding statements. And you can see that the resume headline reflects exactly what the job is. There's no guessing what this person does, and there's no guessing what job that they're applying for. So the first one, for example, results-driven HR leader. So not only an HR leader position that this person is applying for, but also highlighting a key strength that they're results-driven. And you can see the branding statement for this example also includes, geographic experience. So maybe this is applicable to the job that they're applying for. And it also lists out some of the accomplishments that they have achieved. And again, some other resume tips. A lot of this you probably already do know if you're not already doing it, but again, make sure you're hitting all of these points and to increase your chances. So here, emphasize and quantify your accomplishments and don't list job tasks. So this shows the reader how well you do your job, not just that you did these tasks. So make sure you customize and target your resume to include those persuasive, dynamic, and impressive accomplishments, again, most applicable to the position. So these examples here on this slide show, quantifiable accomplishments, and they also bottom line the results. So they just get to the points, like what is it that you achieved? Numbers that show that they contributed to the business and met goals. Or projects that they initiated or implemented, and that impacted the company. It helped the company grow in a way. Lastly, be careful of formatting. So on the left-hand side, we have an example of what we feel is, not so great formatting. The important information in this example should be at the very top, but instead this person has taken the first third of the page, just to list out their contact information. Also on the bottom in the footer of this example, there's a line, that may be part of like the design of that template. And again, it takes up a lot of space, but more importantly, it also means that this resume might get rejected by the technology, the applicant tracking systems that hiring managers use and recruiters use, which Val is going to talk to you guys about in just a little bit. Also, the dates aren't aligned, and just in general, it looks very messy. So on the right-hand side, we have how we feel the resume should look like. And they've used a much more modern font. Very close to the top is the resume headline and the branding statement. The dates are aligned with the right side of the page. And sending a resume like this one that looks, a lot crisper shows that you're conscientious and you also pay attention to detail. So it goes a long way. So the last thing that we want to talk to you guys about in terms of resume or your resumes are keywords. And I'm going to let Val take you through this part.
Okay, thanks, Dina. So keywords are words or short phrases that relate to a particular requirements for a job. They're soft skills, hard skills, abilities, credentials, qualities that a hiring manager looks for in a candidate. And the reason it's important to have them on your resume is that many companies use automated applicant tracking systems, or ATS. They're also known as talent management systems to screen candidates for job openings. One way the ATS works is to eliminate resumes that are missing certain keywords. If the software or the hiring manager doesn't detect any of the keywords in your resume or cover letter, your application might get thrown out. By embedding the keywords in your resume or cover letter, you'll demonstrate at a glance that you fit the requirements of the position. So you should use keywords to align your resume with the position that you're targeting. Include the position, the title, related experience, technical skills, education, training, certificates, etc. And use actual wording from the job posting. So take a look at some job descriptions posted in your industry, and then read through the experience and skills section of your resume to make sure you have all the keywords listed. Utilize keywords that the company uses to describe itself, to demonstrate that you're a good fit for them. So I'm talking about, you might find language on the company's About Us page or on the job listing itself. For example, if a company identifies itself as creative, you could incorporate the words creative or creativity in your resume. And it's important to update the keywords on each resume you send out to ensure that they match the target company's language. Go to the company's LinkedIn page to see how they describe themselves. And lastly, one great place to find keywords that Dina and I found is a website called ONET Online, which is a database of job descriptions from many different industries. And Dina is going to paste that in the chat box if you want to copy it and use it for future reference. So once you have a resume, you can start working on your LinkedIn profile, which, as you know, is the most important career tool of our time, because not only does it give you credibility, but its specific functions enable you to easily reach employers and recruiters. The first step is to make your profile perfect. So let's start with your picture. Make it professional, head and shoulders with an inviting smile, You should be dressed appropriately for the job you're seeking with a light gray or white background. And we wanted to mention the background. Just be mindful of it because there are some very bad examples of backgrounds on LinkedIn, and it's very distracting to the person that's trying to read your profile. And we put some examples of them on the right side of this page. Don't be afraid to create a banner that shows your personality. The one on the bottom is a fellow coach friend of ours, and that's one of her sort of inspirational phrases. And the one on the left is an ethics lawyer, so she's using the logo of her company. You can tell right away that she's someone that believes in ethics. And of course, it's always fine, if you're more comfortable with that, it's always fine to use the standard LinkedIn banner. And make your headline count. Your name and your headline are the only things a LinkedIn user will see when he or she conducts a search on LinkedIn. And your profile comes up as one of the search returns. So make sure the description of yourself has as many keywords as possible, and that it says not only what you do, but what you're good at and what you're passionate about. So for example, marketer seeking next opportunity is a bit weak, but consumer products marketer looking for small brand to make big tells your next boss what you plan to deliver. Make sure that under each job you list in the work section that you're using the bullet points that you've already created for your resume. And a lot of people forget about this. They just write company, job title. And this is a way to include all of your achievements, because remember one thing, a potential employer might be deciding to have a conversation with you based only on your LinkedIn profile alone without seeing your resume. So it's important that all of those things and those bullet points that you've created for your resume are on your LinkedIn profile. And spice it up a little. Here are some ways to not only make your profile interesting, but also compelling. So Dina and I use Canva. We absolutely love it. It's a platform that's free most of the time. We do some sophisticated things, so we have to pay a little bit each month. But you can create a beautiful banner like Dina has here. Also ask for endorsements and recommendations from people that you've worked with, and that will help give you credibility and help people believe in your story and your strengths. You can add your best ever PowerPoint presentation. You can even add a video of yourself speaking to a group if you have such a thing. And we wanted to let you know that when you post videos into your status update area, as opposed to written articles, which are great too, you will get 10 times more views on LinkedIn. Cool. Okay, and then very important, make sure that you have the open to job opportunities feature activated. It lets recruiters know that you're available for job ops. So I put an example of how to do this on this slide. You click onto your profile section button to the right of your profile photo. Click intro, and then looking for job opportunities. Provide the requested information, so you can add what job title you're looking for, country, city, whether you're looking for a full-time job, a part-time job, or even an internship. And most importantly, you can choose whether all LinkedIn members or only recruiters can see that you're open to job opportunities. So if you're working at a company and you're kind of looking around and you don't want them to know that you're looking for a job, make sure that you click on the one that says share with recruiters only. Okay, and the way that LinkedIn works, the more connections you have, the higher you'll be on the search engine for attributes recruiters are looking for that are similar to others. So what you want to do first is develop a connection strategy. What are going to be your criteria for accepting invites from people? Will you accept anyone from your industry, or only those working in organizations that you're familiar with? In theory, our advice would be to accept more than less, but just make sure that the people that you accept share common professional and personal interests, and that are people that you know or are connected to people that you know. And how do you build these connections? Well, we break it down into 3 groups: past, present, and future. So in the past, take a look at past requests you have on LinkedIn, because sometimes you have a lot of requests and you don't know about it. That's what happens to me. And so once every few weeks, go through your past requests, and if they meet the criteria, accept them. Make a list of people you remember from past jobs or volunteering and find them on LinkedIn and connect with them. Another great technique is to sort your emails in reverse chronological order and identify people from maybe 5, 7, 8 years ago that you haven't thought about in a long time, but who knew you in a professional environment or at school, and connect with them on LinkedIn. And then we wanted to tell you about the alumni feature. So this is a really great feature. The easiest networking connections to create are those with whom we have something in common. So hopefully you've chosen your school from the drop-down menu when you're setting up your profile. And it should be in the education section, obviously. So go to the search bar and type the name of your school. Then click on alumni on the bottom left. Oops. And you can search by geographical area, job title, company, etc. And you can easily identify a Pitzer alumni in a field or company that interests you. Start connecting with those people and reach out to them if you need an introduction to someone in their company. So for example, I went on and I chose Microsoft as if I was looking for a job at Microsoft and in the Los Angeles area. And it turned out that there are 84 Pitzer alumni that work at Microsoft in the Los Angeles area. So there's 2 things you could do. If there's a job that you have targeted specifically, you can reach out to one of those alumni and say, hey, can you introduce me to the hiring manager? Or you can simply contact someone, one of those alumni, and say, you know, I'd love to get your feedback on what's it like to work at Microsoft. You know, what are things that I need to know getting into that industry? So this is like a really, really wonderful tool. So how do you build network in the present? Just make sure you connect your email contacts to your LinkedIn account and download the LinkedIn app so that you can add people as a connection as you meet them. And in the future, add the LinkedIn badge to your email signature and invite people to connect with you. So once you have all these incredible connections, it's important to engage. It says something about your personal brand to recruiters and others about where you spend your time and who you're interacting with. First of all, groups are the single most valuable feature of LinkedIn. They're professional associations in a digital world. They're online networking groups, people interested in the same topic, congregating in the same place. So the employer might ask, are these persons' activities and interests relevant to what we do and what we're looking for? And there's a few unwritten rules about groups that I wanted to talk to you about. First of all, lurk. Make sure you like the culture of the group. Are they touchy-feely or are they very corporate? If you don't have a synergy, get out of the group. If you do have a synergy, start engaging. Share articles, post comments, publish original content. And once you're in the group you really like, introduce yourself. Say, hi everyone, my name is whatever it is. I'm passionate about this subject. I've just moved to this city and I'm really excited to find a job in a field that allows me to express my passion and use my skills. Interact with the discussions. So like, comment, share what other people are posting. And a key point is look at the number of people that belong to a certain group. If you share something one day with the group, notice how many people you're reaching, because some of these groups have thousands of people, so they're really, really useful. And then one day when you're looking at a job, if people know you in the group, you can ask for their help. So it's really a wonderful thing. Following. So when you follow specific companies from your target list via company pages, you'll hear about anything new happening, from a new branch office opening to a new product release. In turn, you can mention any information you gather in your email to the company when you send your CV, or even in an interview. It just allows you to be more informed about what's happening in a company. So when you get in front of them, you're able to talk about their company in an authentic way. Also, post. Everyone has something to say. Use the status update feature to share anything you write, any event you're attending that others might be interested in, and anything else that would add value to your personal brand. So this is really important. Reach your hiring manager at any organization. So once you've got your this actually helps you with this problem of having your resume go into some sort of black hole. And once you've got your hiring manager's name, you can send him or her an email or message or a cover letter. So it's important to do this because HR departments receive hundreds of resumes and it's hard to stand out in the crowd. So it's much better if you go directly to the source. I show you how to do this. Basically, you put your cursor in the search field and enter the name of the company you're targeting and click on the company. Then you click on See All Employees on the right-hand side. I'm going to take you through these steps. And the next step is go to the top of the page and start entering filters. So you can choose location. If you want to get in touch with someone in that company in a certain city, for example, or department, here I've chosen New York and marketing department. And then enter the title of the person you would most likely be reporting to. For example, if you're a manager level, you might be reporting to a director level person. Or if you're a director, you might be reporting to a senior director or a vice president. And apply the filter to get the list of people that drop down, and send that one of those people, whoever you identify as your most probable hiring manager, your impassioned cover letter, and get yourself noticed better than you would sending your resume to an HR person. So once you found your future boss, spend some time learning about that person. What does he or she care about? What are they up against in the job? Check on the groups they belong to. See what influencers they follow, and read some of the influencers' posts to see what topics and perspectives your hiring manager cares about. And then get the introduction. If your first degree connection, if someone that is a first degree connection for you knows someone you'd like to talk to, say your prospective boss at X company, you can ask your first degree connection to make the introduction for you. And we explain how to do this and all of these things that we just mentioned on the LinkedIn tips document that we'll be sending you as a thank you for joining this call. So that's a pretty good foundation to amp up your LinkedIn presence. And now we wanted to talk to you about cover letters. So you might think that cover letters are obsolete and a thing of the past, but you can absolutely send a cover letter in a PDF form along with your resume. And for a less formal approach, depending on who you're sending the email to, you can take the text of the cover letter and put it in the body of the email you're sending. The important thing is that the cover letter content gives you one extra opportunity to address exactly why the particular organization should hire you. We recommend two different kinds of cover letters. On the left is a cover letter with bullet points. And the bullet points are proving why you're the best person for the job. So here you want to mention achievements that you've made that directly relate to the qualities necessary for the job. And on the right, the format of this letter has a column mentioning the needs of the company on one side and your qualifications that match or address those needs on the other. So remember, there are a few rules about cover letters. First of all, make sure to send it to a real person. If you're sending it to HR manager at X company, at least take the time to figure out what that person's name is. And it's not about you, it's about what you can do for the organization. So remember to address the concerns that they would have when they are hiring someone for a job. Make sure you're not just repeating the information in your resume, but that you're highlighting specific achievements necessary for the job. And use the STAR formula. So the STAR formula is a way to talk about achievements that you've made. And it's situations. So what was the situation you faced in a previous job? What tasks were involved in that situation? What actions did you take? And what were the positive results of those actions? Make sure you get to the point quickly. So less is more in the cover letter. People have less and less time. So yeah, make sure you're to the point. And then in the last sentence, request an interview, asking them for an opportunity to discuss the qualifications in person. Customize each letter, obviously, for the company, and follow up a few days later after you send the email if you haven't heard back. So that concludes our section on resumes, cover letters, LinkedIn.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Val. And what I want to say really quickly, I mean, Valerie already covered so many points, especially for LinkedIn. But LinkedIn is, you know, a company at the end of the day. It's a huge platform, and there's only so much that we can cover ourselves, but they're always, you know, advancing their features and adding new features. So it's really worth not only going through the tips that we'll be sharing with you guys afterwards, but also just playing around on the platform too. Like there's a whole LinkedIn learning section that maybe some of you are aware of. There's also assessments that you can take through LinkedIn to, you know, add qualifications and skills to the job. So you can say, yeah, I'm certified in this, you know, technical skill, for example, and they give you special badges and things like that. So it's really such a powerful platform that we believe not a lot of people are using to its full potential. So it's really worth spending, you know, a lot of time there. All right, and on that point, you can have the most amazing LinkedIn profile, the most amazing resume, but if you don't have the confidence to actually send your resume to someone or to speak about yourself with conviction in a job interview, or even if you're just having a conversation with a potential, you know, recruiter or employer or whoever it is, even if, you know, you want to make that courageous step to start your own organization or your own business, for example, you know, again, it won't matter if you don't have the confidence to do that. So one of the top reasons that people actually hire coaches is to help them with this area, is to help them improve their confidence. So it's an area that we like to think we understand pretty well. And the good news is that you can always build your confidence. And one way to start building your confidence is to actually first notice what's in the way of your confidence. What's stopping you from taking the steps that you need to take to get closer to your goals? In other words, what's the self-doubt that's there, and how can you manage it? Sometimes self-doubt, well, most of the time actually, self-doubt comes from the voice of our inner critic, sometimes called saboteurs, because they actually sabotage our plans to reach our goals. And we all have inner critics or saboteurs. And these are voices within us that tell us not to be courageous because we're not good enough, or that we're going to embarrass ourselves, or whatever we're working on isn't perfect. It's not worth it. Move on. And there's so many different types of saboteurs. And that's why it's important to understand who they are. And there's a free online assessment, which is a fantastic tool that tells you what your top saboteurs are and where they come from. It's in the worksheet, and it's also on the slide. And I can also paste it into, we're sharing a lot of links with you guys today, but they're all worth it, we promise. Here's the link, so you can go and do that free assessment after this call. And the goal of the inner critic or the saboteur is actually to keep us safe. But the reality is that they really limit our growth, and they limit our achievements of meaningful goals, right? We set goals that are really meaningful. We know our heart's in the right place, but yet we somehow get stuck. And so what we can do is become more self-aware of them. And once we're more self-aware of our inner critics, we can make a more conscious choice, or even just to understand that we have a choice. We are at choice. We can move from a place where we feel powerless to a place where we feel we're empowered and we can take back control of our lives. In other words, we can move from a more, or we can move rather from a reactive mindset to a more creative mindset. Again, something that if you were there in week 1, we've covered that as well. And so the first step is to identify the inner critic and its impact on you. Does your inner critic keep you on your toes? Does it help you? Sometimes when we're so used to doing something in a certain way, it can be really hard to let go and to try something new. Some people will say, and I've been guilty of it myself, oh, but my fear, my inner critic motivates me, or my fear of failure keeps me going. And it's true, it can be a great motivator. Fear can be a great motivator. But the truth is that this is negative reinforcement, and it's only going to work for certain types of goals. And it's also only going to work for a limited period of time. You're going to run out of fuel sooner than later. So the second step after we've identified who your inner critic is to acknowledge that they're there to keep you safe, but they're not really serving us. And so Amanda Blake, who's the author of the book, Your Body is Your Brain, and who I took her course, Your Body is Your Brain, also last year. And she talks about 3 essential nutrients that we need as humans to survive. And they've developed over time because of evolutionary pressures. And they keep our bodies going, actually. So it's good to be conscious of what these are. The first one is safety. So this keeps us alive. It's how we consider choices that are life or death. But most of the time, and we know that our rational brains know that most choices in our lives aren't actually life or death, even though we treat them as such. The second essential nutrient is connection. We're social beings, and we have to be connected to each other in order to survive. We can't do it on our own. We need each other. And the third thing is respect or dignity. And this is about social status. So again, as social beings, it's important for us to understand where we fit in the hierarchy and how we define our roles in the societies or communities that we live in. So if you consider these 3 nutrients, when you feel your inner critic's presence or voice, ask yourself, what does my inner critic not like about this situation? What does it feel really is in danger here? You know, it could be that you feel that your safety's in danger, your connection's in danger, or your social status. But more importantly, ask yourself, is your safety, connection, or maybe a combination of all three really in danger? Is it really in danger? So on your worksheet, we've included, first of all, the link to the assessment, but we've also included some additional questions for you to really spend more time understanding, you know, what they sound like, what they look like. Sometimes it's good to embody them as well. It's important to spend time on this so that when they sneakily pop in, which they do, they're very sneaky, you can notice that it's them, and then you can make a choice. So for example, I've done the online assessment, and I already knew this before I did it because I've been working as a coach for years now. But one of my top saboteurs is the stickler, and the stickler is it's kind of self-explanatory, but the stickler strives for perfection in everything that I do. And I notice that it really comes in, and its voice is so loud every time I'm trying to do something new. It tells me, you know, Dina, if it's not perfect, then it's not worth doing. I call her Little Miss Perfect. And she says things like, you know, you either do it 100% right or you don't do it at all. And it's really kept me in the past from trying new things, from experimenting, from allowing my curiosity to lead me. And on the other side, I've really gotten to know it really well over the years. I've gotten to know Little Miss Perfect really well, and I can anticipate when she's going to come in. And so it's very important to recognize and acknowledge the voice of the inner critic, and then recognize that it's only one voice, and that you have a choice. You're always in choice, whether you want to choose to listen to that voice or perhaps another voice. And what we like to do is to introduce you guys to the voice that's going to counteract the inner critic's voice, and that's the inner leader. And so think about it in this way. If your life were a movie, your inner leader would be the director of that movie. And so who would you want the director to be? What would you want that director to be like? Another way to think about it is maybe visualize and connect with your future self. So yourself 20 years from now, maybe 25 years from now. If you had a chance to meet yourself in the future, if you had some time, spend some time thinking about who you are in the future, what are you like as a person? And to ask yourself, what advice would you give to yourself now? So the inner leader has the energy of expansiveness, it's lightness, and it always points to opportunities, possibilities. And it's grounded in what's important to you. Again, your values, your goals. Your inner critic has none of that. It's quite literally the opposite. And like the inner critic is negative reinforcement, the inner leader is positive reinforcement. So on the second part of your worksheet, we've included a different set of questions to really help you get to know your inner leader. So these are really questions that we want you guys to chew on, spend some time on. It's not something that you necessarily need to answer also in one sitting. And these are the kind of questions that just the questions that we have on the worksheet, in case you don't have the worksheet in front of you. So what's the voice of your inner leader? What are your inner leader's inspiring or supportive messages? What does tapping into your inner leader feel like? And what's a mantra that you could connect to your inner leader with? And what does your inner leader want for you? Really, what does it ultimately want for you? And once you've answered these questions, you can think about how this will impact your choices and your actions if you're coming from a place of your inner leader rather than your inner critic. what opens up for you, what options become available, and what's possible when you shift to listen to your inner leader instead. My inner leader, for example, which is the opposite of Little Miss Perfect, my inner leader possesses old age wisdom. She has a very calming and serene energy, and it's always full of compassion, kindness, and unconditional love for me. And I know that. And this really helps me quiet Little Miss Perfect and instead allows me to accept myself more and also helps me refocus my energy into what I really care about. So that's how my inner leader's energy kind of or essence comes up and how she helps me. What about you, Val? What's your inner leader like?
It's so funny because my inner leader, so whenever I'm feeling sorry for myself or I'm struggling to finish a project, my inner leader pops in and literally screams at me and says, just get moving. So your inner leader is this like sweet, adorable voice that's very soothing and calm. And my inner leader is like a gigantic kick in the butt. So that's a good point because it's really whatever works to get you motivated, you know, and each person has a different kind of voice that they're going to relate to and that they have to find. And you probably know what it is already.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I think it also changes, you know, depending on where we are in our lives, you know, what stage we are in our lives. I think our inner leader also kind of shifts and grows and changes with us.
Yeah, and yours sounds a little nicer than mine, so maybe you could introduce yourself.
Yeah, right after this call.
Right.
All right. So this part of the workshop, you know, it's about confidence, and part of building confidence, actually a really big part of building confidence, is having a group of people who believe in you. We're talking about building your tribe. And we want to talk to you guys about the people in Okinawa, Japan. And this was a concept that was introduced to both Val and I by a presentation that we both attended a couple of years ago. And we were fascinated by this because the people in Okinawa, Japan, actually live longer than anyone else in the world. A lot of their senior citizens live well into their hundreds. And when researchers went over there to figure out what made them live longer, they found that one of their longevity traditions was the secret to their long life. And it was that they pair children up when they're really young in groups, usually in groups of 5. And this forms their social support groups. And they commit to each other for life. So they stick together no matter what throughout their life, and they call this social support group their moai. And generations before today, the concept of the moai in Okinawa was to help the residents pool resources for each other. So for example, if one person in your tribe wanted to build a new house and they didn't have all of the resources, your moai would actually be responsible for pooling all the financial resources together for you to make this happen. And over the years, they found that the benefit of the moai reached a lot further than just financial resources. The results of the research show that your social connections can have a long-term impact on your health and happiness. And having a social support group will help you, number one, experience less stress. You know, we know that loneliness can decrease your life expectancy by 8 years. And in Okinawa, members of the moai experience the stability and the support of knowing that there's always someone, you know, there's always going to be someone there for them. The support group would also help you be happier. With each happy or positive friend that you add to your network, you increase your happiness by 15%. Happiness is just contagious. And it helps you live longer. Older people without close friends are more likely to develop chronic diseases. And as we now know, people in Okinawa live longer than almost anyone else in the world. So it's really important to build your tribe and to spend time thinking about this too. Your tribe will pick you up when you've had a setback, celebrate your successes with you, share information to push you forward. And again, it's about building that the connections and this safety and the where you stand in the social hierarchy. It takes us back also to the 3 essential nutrients. It's all connected. And it's not just about having a tribe, but it's important about who is in there with you. How are you choosing these people? Because ultimately, and you've probably heard this before, we all become a sum average of the group of people that we surround ourselves with. And it's important who you are being also in this tribe. What role do you play? What do you bring to the tribe? And that's why it's so important to talk about the heliotropic effect, which Val will take you through now.
Great, thank you. So like plants, and in this case, sunflowers, human beings turn towards the light. Words, praise, and feedback makes us better. Research has shown, in fact, that what sets successful kids apart from kids that struggle academically is that the ones that do well have at least one important person who champions them and is a constant throughout their childhood. Remember that the first person you call with good news will determine how you code it. Will it be with pride or will you give up? Imagine you're excited about something that you've accomplished and you call someone with the news and they have a negative reaction or they're just very flat. That can really deflate you, and it's the opposite of encouraging, and you might give up. So just make sure to choose that person wisely. And your tribe members should be empowered people so that they can empower you and vice versa. Make sure you have a mentor, or at least be comfortable asking someone in your tribe for help when you need it. And you can't keep what you don't give away. So if you've been supported in your lifetime, make sure that you give your knowledge or mentor someone, not only because it's karmically the right thing to do, but because it will make you feel confident. Be an influencer in your tribe. Think about the fact that you don't really know a person until you know their goals. So make sure that you're asking those questions about the people in your tribe. The bottom line is you need to be creating opportunities to feel confident. So who is your go-to person? How do you feel about your tribe? Is there somebody that you'd like to add? Is there someone that's not a positive influence for you? Basically what we're saying is try to really be mindful of who you're spending your time with. So commitment. Commitment does not exist on a spectrum, and people cannot become committed to what is vague or trivial. So we wanted to ask you, are your goals clear enough? Is your why strong enough? And when we say the why, we're talking about your life purpose, why you're doing something. Are you clear about your core values and what's important to you and how you want to honor them in your personal and professional life? Is there something missing? Ask yourself, is there anything you need to feel more confident about your goal? And sometimes it's a training or getting some education on something. And maybe it's a discipline that you need to put into your life. And accountability. Sometimes it helps to tell somebody about your goal. That's what accountability is about. It's about having someone you know will champion you and support you when you come up against a challenge. So this is the framework for getting into action. And we're going to send this to you on a worksheet after the call so that you can use it whenever you feel it will be useful. And you might use it today, and you might use it 6 months from now, and you might use it in a few years from now. It's just a formula that we feel really works. And It can be a really powerful thing when you write things down on black and white. So let's just take a moment and go over the sections. So the first one is identifying the goal. What is the goal that you want to achieve? What's important about achieving this goal? What is this going to give you in the end? And how is this goal going to make your life better? So for example, I have a client who was extremely unhappy in his job. He was overworked. It was a toxic environment. He wasn't enjoying himself with any of his colleagues, and he wasn't spending a lot of time with his family. So what he wanted to achieve, when we're saying, what is important about achieving this goal? Well, what it would give him actually is work-life balance. Like, he wanted to find a job that was better suited to his work-life balance. And he decided to leave the company. It was an incredibly courageous thing to do. And it was hard. And there were times when he would call me and he would say, I'm not so sure, is this the right thing? But we decided, he said, the thing that's carrying me through this is, I know that on the other end of this tunnel, I will have a more satisfying job. I will be happier in my personal life and my professional life. So what is it that is at the end of the tunnel that you can concentrate on that will help you get through a challenging time and reach your goal? And then capture some new insights and learning. What have you learned in this series, on this call, during this challenging time of COVID? Or what is the new insight that you're aware of? Be aware of how you're transforming and learning, and what you're learning about yourself, because this will help you make choices. Clarify your action steps. So really state for yourself, what do you want to do differently? What are the most important changes that you want to make? And you can just pick one. Like, for example, maybe the social distancing was really good for your inner critic because you don't like to talk to people, you're an introvert, and you were like, this is great. My inner critic is being fed at this moment because we're actually supposed to stay away from each other. So maybe you want to make an intentional goal for yourself to call 5 people each week, or reach out to someone on LinkedIn every day, something like that. What are the changes that you want to make that will help you shift to something new? And write them down, and write down exactly what you'll do. Do you want to start by updating your LinkedIn profile, maybe calling a mentor, asking for advice, hiring a coach? Think about one thing that will help you get from today to where you want to be. And also anticipate obstacles and develop tactics to overcome them. So when you know what might get in the way in advance, you can develop a strategy in advance to overcome the impediment. Does your inner critic come up every time you want to send your resume, for example, to someone? You can decide now what you'll do when this happens. Like, will you go for a walk and get some fresh air? Will you call a supportive friend that will encourage you? Like, just send your resume. Or will you just count to 3? 1, 2, 3, and press send? What's going to be your strategy to help you get over any type of obstacle that might come in the way? And also, capture learning after the action. So make sure that you're taking time to reflect on the actions that you've taken and learn from them, and think of ways that you can do better next time. Also, identify someone that you can trust to give you feedback. And this includes taking time to celebrate things that you did well. So when you take time out to really acknowledge yourself, and it could be alone or it could be with another person, it's basically allowing you to shift from your inner critic to your inner leader. And you get into a habit of really going towards the inner leader and leaving the inner critic behind. So, and sometimes that's half the battle. Great. And then lastly, confirm your commitment to commit. Is there something else you need? is this list of actions realistic? If so, share your worksheet with someone, or post it on the refrigerator, or leave it on your desk so that you can remember what you've committed to yourself. So that is actually it for our presentation. And we really hope it was useful for you. Check out the first 2 presentations on the YouTube channel, Pitzer at Home. And we really wanted to say it's just been such a great pleasure to give these presentations to the Pitzer community over the past few weeks. And we hope that it was enjoyable for you too.
Yeah, thank you everyone for the opportunity, and please feel free to reach out to us either on our website or on our email. You know, we run other workshops, but coaching really is our passion, and we're both one-on-one coaches. So don't hesitate to reach out to us with any questions that you may have, or if you want to share our contact details with someone you know. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, we want to thank you, Valerie and Dina, for your Getting Unstuck workshop series. It has really been insightful and so rich in resources and strategies, just really a wonderful presentation. Our alumni community is very fortunate to have this career development resource, and so we're so thankful. After 3 weeks now, we're going to miss seeing you and having your presentations at Pitzer at Home. And we want you to know how much we've enjoyed this whole experience working with you and then getting to be part of the workshops. They really are great value to our community. So thank you so much for all that you've put into this, your time, your energy, your heart, and again, just the wonderful material that you presented.
Thank you so much.
Again. And that concludes this Pitzer at Home. And again, as everyone can see, all of the great resources you have in the chat. And I think that feel free to go to Pitzer at Home to follow up on any. And again, we'll be sending some of the material that you talked about.
Great.
Great.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks.